Last week in our How Gays Retire Fabulous series, we broke down how to estimate what you will get from Social Security depending on when you file, because timing is everything. This week, we're going to tackle how those estimates will impact your basic, happy, and fabulous retirement buckets.
So whether you need the cash flow at age 62 or you're holding out to live it up at age 70, rock on. Let's figure out the best move for your future self. This is Queer Money episode number 559. So grab your coffee or your mimosa and let's get started.
Cheers, queers.
Capital One Auto Navigator does more than just auto financing. We're here to help you find a car you love, too. Shop millions of cars from thousands of dealers nationwide. Research your favorite makes and models. Explore dealers near you and more. All on Auto Navigator.
So last week, as part of step 5, we shared how to estimate your monthly Social Security payments based on when you choose to file for Social Security based on different ages. This week, we're going to get crystal clear on how those estimates will affect your basic, happy, and fabulous retirement that we established way back on Queer Money episode number 547, or step 1, titled, Here's What Your Fabulous Gay Retirement Looks Like. This week, we're tackling step 6.
Yeah, step 6 is really what we're going to do is we're going to start to evaluate what your future financial situation may look like. And that will then determine whether or not your Social Security contributes to you having a basic, happy, or fabulous retirement. And so there are probably 3 really important things to take into consideration when you evaluate your future financial situation. And this is somewhat elusive because this is, as we mentioned last week, we're looking into the crystal ball. We're doing some future casting, I think was the word that you used, John.
Future cast, simulcast.
Right. So this is a little difficult. And I think this is probably the most difficult part of a financial advisor or financial planner's job is to say, when do you think you're going to die? It's a really tough question to answer, but it also involves more than just when you think you're going to die. So the first thing that we think that you should consider is, what will your current financial needs be? So for a lot of folks who haven't been able to save for retirement or haven't been able to save very much, your current financial needs are going to have a big impact on whether or not you take Social Security at 62 early, 67 full retirement age, or delay until you're 70. And so
sometimes you just need the money.
Right. If you definitely need that money, claiming at 62 is 100% okay. There's no problem with that. But keep in mind that you will have that lower amount, which most likely means you're going to probably be somewhere on the basic or happy side, unless you have something else.
The second consideration is other sources of income. We've talked ad nauseum on this podcast about the need to no longer rely on one source of income, that including a salary, but that's also especially including Social Security, because Social Security was never meant to be the sole funder of our retirement. And even if it ever was at some point able to do that, it's just that's never going to happen again. So we've talked about the need to, as we call it, build your wealth pyramid, where you have at least 3 sources of income. And for most of us, that's stock market investing, real estate investing, and having a small business. But that's of course malleable depending upon your situation and what you're good at. But other sources of income might be your retirement savings, a pension if you're fortunate enough to have one, other investments such as maybe an annuity, or even some people are considering reverse mortgages. So just think about what those other sources of income might be for you and how they will augment what you are possibly going to get from Social Security based on the calculations that you did last week.
Yeah. And remember, for some folks, especially those who have a lot of vitality and are wanting to be out in the public a lot, it may be that you continue working, right? You continue working, or maybe you scale work down to something like 10 to 20 hours a week. That could be another source of income that could have an impact as to whether or not you claim at 62, 67, or 70.
Or somewhere in between all those.
Yeah. And probably the most elusive topic we're going to talk about now is that longevity consideration. This is number 3, the third thing you need to be thinking about. how long do you think you might live? It's a really hard question.
Yeah,
to
no one knows. I
answer,
mean, right?
'cause
I
you
think I'm going to live to 100, but I could get hit by a car tomorrow, right?
right.
And so if I said I was going to delay my retirement until 70, but then I get hit by a car at 63, then I got crap from the Social Security Administration.
Well, you're not 63, but anyway. So the longer you expect to live, the more you might want to think about delaying your benefits so that you can maximize that amount that you get every single month. Obviously, if you're going to delay your taking your benefits until 67 or 70, you're going to have more of the other sources of income coming in, or a job all the way up until that time period to cover those costs, because obviously you're not getting anything from Social Security. And I think probably the best indicators for longevity are, what's your family history look like, and what does your lifestyle look like, right? Does your family have a history of longevity? Do you have grandparents that live into their 80s, 90s, hundreds like mine did? Or do you have grandparents who died early? I also have a grandmother who died, or a grandfather who died of leukemia when he was 48. So I have both of those in my family. The other thing is what does your lifestyle look like, right? Are you
Party like a rock star?
right all the way up until you're into your 50s, 60s, and 70s? If that's the case, your lifestyle could be contributing to the fact that you may die younger. I think that this is something that a lot of especially gay men who were tangential to or during the AIDS crisis thought this a lot. I'm not going to live for very long. That's why many of us didn't necessarily save for retirement, is because we didn't think that we were going to live that long. And now we see many of them in their 60s and 70s, and they are looking at this question now: how long am I going to live? So I think it's really important. So these three things to think about.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One, NA, member FDIC. Right, because we practice what we preach. Last
Most
weekend,
of the time.
last weekend we went over to Ernest Brewing Company here, just around the corner from our place, which Ernest has a great little happy hour on Sundays for some delicious beer. So over some beers, we talked about how the estimates for Social Security for us that we came up with the previous week, how will they affect our basic happy and fabulous retirement buckets? And so we have somewhat of a unique challenge. Maybe this applies to lots more people than we are familiar with. But I expect that I'm going to live relatively long. My family history is pretty good medically, and I have a relatively healthy lifestyle. However, David has contributed much more to his Social Security than I have, because he's worked a lot longer than I have.
3 years.
So because of that, he could expect to get more, or would expect to get more from Social Security. The problem is his health isn't the best. So we need to weigh that factor in of how long we can actually expect that he might live, and how will survivor benefits, Social Security survivor benefits, help or hinder our retirement strategy.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before in the whole discussion around how long you think you're going to live, and having an impact, we basically have decided that we're probably going to take our retirement or our Social Security benefits and start claiming those at different ages. We're not going to do it at the same age, and so because it is likely that I will die younger than John, uh, we're looking at me taking my benefit early, because I will probably get my benefit starting somewhere between 62 and 67. I'll get my benefit ranging somewhere between $1,669 and $2,417. At least that's what we're estimating right now. And because of me dying younger, I would get more money because I would be taking the benefits for a longer time period. Whereas John, we decided he should delay his, because it is likely that I would be getting my benefit and we could use that towards our retirement, and let him delay all the way up until the time that he reaches actually goes past full retirement, and we're going to go ahead and delay until he's 70. That's most likely the situation for us. And really, what does that look like? Why would he want to take it later rather than earlier? So we decided to actually run the numbers. So let's just say, for example, John died at the age of 72, and he had started taking his benefit at age 62. He would have received roughly around $193,680 if he started taking it at 62. If he had delayed it until 70 and died at 72, he would have gotten around $70,560. So you see a huge difference there between when he claims, if he claims early at 62 or waits all the way up until he's 70. Now, what happens if he lives longer? Well, in this particular scenario, if he lived until he was 80, if he started taking it at 62, his total benefits that would have been paid out were around $348,000, $349,000. But if he delayed it until he was 70, the total benefits that would have been paid out were around $353,000. So the longer you live, the more you end up getting. And as a matter of fact, that was actually a number that, or a comment that we got from someone.
Yeah, on a recent YouTube video of ours, North Star PNW said that there needs to be better clarification that getting less from Social Security when taking it early doesn't necessarily mean you get less over your lifetime. And that's true. Getting less each month does not necessarily mean that you're going to get less over your lifetime. If you start getting Social Security at 62 and then live to be 110, you're going to get a lot of money.
Exactly. So I think what's really important here is that this is the time period where you need to, this step 6 is to start calculating how these kinds of things will have an impact. John and I started to run some numbers, and that's where we came up with, we think that we'll be getting around $40,000 from Social Security per year in retirement. Obviously, that number will change the longer we live, but that's what we came up with, kind of this foundational number. So we suggest you do the same.
Exactly. And that is step 6. Calculate how Social Security will affect your basic, happy, and fabulous retirement buckets that we talked about in previous episodes. And then what are your thoughts? Share them in the comments on YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, or you can direct message us on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you're catching us or wherever you follow us. Or you can always email us at info@queermoneypodcast.com. With that, we'll be right back.
The mission of Queer Money is to financially empower the LGBTQ+ community. Join us in thanking Capital One for supporting that mission. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Come back next Thursday when we continue to discuss how gays can retire fabulously. And we're going to take a dark dive into which states may make your retirement suck the most.
Until next time, stay fabulous. Bye.
Bye.